There comes a moment in every person's life when they wake up not from sleep, but from the illusion. The illusion that life must be lived one way, the old way, that you must follow the rules someone else wrote long before you were born. Get up early, punch in, work hard, obey, retire, and hope you made enough to last. For years, generations lived by that code. It was the accepted truth. But now, something's shifting, something deep, something powerful. There's a new kind of wealth being built, a new breed of success story being written, and it's no longer reserved for the few in suits sitting in glass towers. It's happening in bedrooms, cafes, co-working spaces, on beaches, in mountain cabins, on couches, with nothing but a laptop and a vision. The new rich aren't following the crowd. They're breaking away from it. They're not clocking in. They're logging on. They're not waiting for opportunity. They're creating it. The old system said, work hard for 40 years and maybe you'll be free. The new rich say, work smart for a few and design your freedom. That's not arrogance. That's awareness. That's not entitlement. That's evolution. And it's available to anyone who's willing to wake up and see what's really going on. The world has changed, but most people haven't. They're still trading time for money like it's the only option. Still looking for job security in a world that's evolving faster than any job description. Still believing the path to success lies in resumes and promotions. But the new rich know better. They've unplugged from the narrative. They've realized that real security comes not from a paycheck, but from skills, vision, and ownership. Ownership of their time. Ownership of their income. Ownership of their life. You don't need a degree to be valuable. You don't need a fancy office to be productive. You don't need permission to build something meaningful. You need hunger. You need clarity. You need the courage to start. That's the new currency. Not connections or capital, but courage. The courage to do things differently. The courage to learn when others are lazy. The courage to be laughed at before you're admired. The courage to bet on yourself when nobody else will. The new rich have that courage. And that's why they're rising. They're not afraid of the internet. They're leveraging it. They're not distracted by it. They're building empires with it. A laptop is no longer just a device. It's a passport, a printing press, a business partner, a tool of transformation. And with it, one person can now do what used to take a company of 50. That's not fantasy. That's fact. And it's happening all around you, whether you're paying attention or not. But let's be real. The path isn't easy. It's not handed to you. The internet won't build your dream. You will. Tools won't make you rich. Decisions will. A course won't save your life. Action will. Most people don't take that action. They scroll. They consume. They complain. They criticize. They compare. But the new rich, they build. They create. They launch. They fail and start again. They invest in skills, not just stuff. They chase freedom, not validation. You've got to ask yourself, what am I really doing with my time? What am I building? Am I scrolling past other people's dreams while ignoring my own? Am I wasting the most valuable asset I have, time, on things that will never move me forward? If the answer shakes you a little, good. That's your awakening. That's the first crack in the shell, the beginning of the breakaway. Nobody's coming to save you. That's not a threat. That's liberation. Because once you realize that, you stop waiting and start building. You stop blaming and start learning. You stop shrinking and start expanding. The laptop isn't magic, you are. The internet isn't your savior, you are. Every tool you need is already available. The only question is, will you use them or just watch others use them? Will you step up or sit back? The digital world is not some faraway thing. It's the new world. It's the present and the future. And the people who adapt will thrive, not just survive, thrive. Because they're not chained to geography. They're not capped by salaries. They're not limited by credentials. They've realized that money now flows through attention, through value, through trust, through leverage. And anyone can tap into that flow if they're willing to do the work that most ignore. So let's be honest. The first step isn't a website. It's not a business model. It's not a course. It's a decision. A decision to no longer live like the rest. A decision to use your time like it matters. A decision to invest in yourself like your life depends on it. Because it does. The old rich own factories. The new rich own attention. The old rich traded labor. The new rich trade value. The old rich waited decades. The new rich act in days. You don't need more motivation. You need more execution. You don't need perfect. You need momentum. You don't need everyone's approval. You need your own belief. And that belief will be tested. You will doubt. You will fail. You will get discouraged. But if you keep going, if you learn, adapt, stay consistent, you'll rise. Not overnight, not without scars, but you'll rise. And when you do, something changes. You start to walk differently. You start to speak with more power. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop begging and start building. You stop surviving and start creating. That's the power of the digital awakening. It's not about tech. It's about choice. It's not about platforms. It's about personal power. The laptop isn't the hero. You are. Look around. Ordinary people are doing extraordinary things. Teenagers are building brands. Parents are escaping debt. Creators are turning content into companies. Freelancers are becoming founders. Introverts are becoming influencers. Writers are becoming revenue machines. Designers are building global businesses. It's happening everywhere. Why not you? Why not now? It's not too late. It's not too crowded. It's not too complicated. That's all noise. That's the old world whispering in your ear, trying to pull you back into comfort, into fear, into small thinking. Don't listen. Listen to your future self. The one who's waiting on the other side of your excuses. The one who knows what you're really capable of. The one who's already living the life you dream of. Because you had the courage to start now. Every day you delay a version of you that's more powerful, more fulfilled, more free. Every excuse is a brick in the wall between your current life and the life you deserve. Smash that wall. With action. With belief. With consistency. Stop treating your dreams like hobbies. Stop treating your time like it's unlimited. Stop waiting for permission. You've got everything you need. Accept the decision. So decide. Decide to rise. Decide to learn. Decide to build. Decide to outgrow your limits. Because the moment you do, the world starts to shift. Opportunities find you. People support you. Ideas flow through you. And that momentum, once it starts, becomes unstoppable. That's what the new rich understand. Wealth isn't just money. It's time. It's freedom. It's growth. It's impact. And all of it starts with one choice, to unplug from the old and plug into the possible. You were not born to just work, pay bills, and die. You were born to build, to inspire, to grow, to serve, to leave a mark. The system won't hand you that life. You've got to take it, boldly, relentlessly, fearlessly. And that journey, it starts with a laptop. But it doesn't end there. It ends with a legacy. Success doesn't just happen. It isn't something you stumble into by luck. It's something you architect, brick by brick, thought by thought, decision by decision. The new rich understand this truth better than anyone else. They don't wake up hoping the world hands them a miracle. They wake up and build it. While others are waiting for Friday, they're building systems that make every day feel like Friday. While others are focused on surviving, they're creating value that thrives. While others are clocking in, they're cashing in on what they know, what they can do, and who they're becoming. This is not about shortcuts. It's not about instant riches. It's about alignment. Alignment between what you know, what you love, and what the world needs. The new rich aren't chasing every shiny object. They're focused. They're obsessed with solving problems, delivering value, and mastering their craft. They don't spend hours dreaming about success. They invest those hours into learning the skills that generate it. And they know one truth that separates them from the rest. If you can solve problems, you can print money. Think about that for a second. Money doesn't come from status or degrees. It comes from solving problems. That's what business is. That's what entrepreneurship is. It's not fancy suits and big offices. It's waking up and asking, whose life can I make easier today? What frustration can I remove? What knowledge can I package? What pain can I fix? And once you start thinking like that, money becomes a byproduct, not a struggle. The old world told you to trade time for money. But the new rich trade value for money. They don't ask, how many hours can I work? They ask, what systems can I build so I never have to work those hours again? They've mastered the difference between working in your life and working on your life. They build assets, digital ones, evergreen ones, scalable ones, courses, content, communities, code, automation, brands. These are the modern day gold mines, but they're invisible to the people who still believe that security lies in a paycheck. The truth is, there's no security in being average. There's no safety in staying silent. There's no future in waiting. You've got to move. You've got to think differently. The new rich don't play defense. They play offense. They build, they launch, they ship, they test, they fail forward. They take feedback and make it fuel. They don't need perfect conditions. They need movement. Because movement creates clarity. And clarity creates progress. And progress is addictive. So what do they build with? What's the foundation? It's not a business plan. It's a mindset. A mindset that says, I am responsible. I am capable. I can figure it out. That's the difference. The new rich don't outsource their belief. They carry it inside. They don't look for guarantees. They create them. They don't fear failure. They expect it and use it as a teacher. Every setback becomes a stepping stone. Every no becomes fuel for the next yes. They invest in skills, not distractions. They learn how to write words that sell. They learn how to speak with power. They learn how to market with authenticity. They learn how to lead teams, even if those teams are virtual. They learn how to code, to build, to scale. But above all, they learn how to think. Strategic thinking, long-term thinking, abundant thinking. That's the secret weapon. Because if you control your mind, you control your outcomes. Look at the tools we have. With one piece of content, you can reach millions. With one idea, you can build a global brand. With one decision, you can rewrite your future. But most people never will. Not because they don't have the potential, but because they've never learned how to activate it. They're stuck in loops. Loops of doubt. Loops of fear. Loops of, what will people think? But the new rich, they broke the loop, and you can too. You have to stop looking for validation and start looking for transformation. Stop asking for opinions and start executing on intuition. Nobody knows your potential better than you do. Not your friends. Not your parents. Not your coworkers. You. And if you don't take that seriously, you'll live your life trying to impress people who aren't even paying attention. The new rich don't just work harder. They work smarter. They don't just grind. They design. They don't just hustle. They align. And that alignment is everything. Alignment between purpose and profit. Between passion and process. Between what feels right and what works well. That's the sweet spot. That's where momentum lives. That's where your energy multiplies. You can't fake alignment. You can't outsource clarity. You've got to go inside. You've got to sit with your truth. What do you want? Really want? Not what looks good on social media. Not what gets applause. What feeds your soul? What makes you come alive? That's the seed. And from that seed, everything grows. Your brand, your message, your offer, your tribe, your income, your legacy. And once that seed is planted, you must protect it. From doubt, from distraction, from delay. You've got to build systems that protect your vision. Systems that free your time. Systems that multiply your results. The new rich don't build cages. They build machines. Systems that sell for them while they sleep. Systems that serve clients while they travel. Systems that scale without burnout. That's what separates the amateurs from the builders. The amateurs are busy. The builders are intentional. The amateurs chase money. The builders attract it. The amateurs complain about algorithms. The builders master them. The amateurs wait for inspiration. The builders show up whether they feel like it or not. That's the mindset of the new rich. Relentless. Strategic. Unshakable. And here's the beautiful part. This mindset is not genetic. It's not reserved. It's learned. Practiced. Built one decision at a time. Anyone can step into it. But few will. Because it requires letting go of comfort. Letting go of certainty. Letting go of old identities. And that's terrifying for those who live in fear. But for those who are tired of playing small, it's exhilarating. It's freedom. It's truth. The world has never been more ready for creators, for solvers, for thinkers, for leaders, for people who are willing to stop watching and start building, who are willing to take control of their outcomes, who are ready to stop surviving and start designing. Because that's what this era is about. Not waiting, not wishing, but building. And building starts with courage. The courage to say yes to your ideas. The courage to bet on your skills. The courage to make offers, to ask for the sale, to show your face, to use your voice, to stand in your power. That's not ego. That's ownership. That's leadership. That's wealth building from the inside out. Money is a magnifier. It expands who you already are. And when you build your wealth with integrity, with purpose, with service at the core, you don't just get richer. You get freer. You get bolder. You become a force for good. The new rich don't just want big bank accounts. They want meaningful lives. They don't want just followers. They want impact. They don't want just freedom. They want fulfillment. And that's where your journey is leading. Not to more stuff, but to more soul. Not to escape work, but to work that matters. Not to retire, but to live fully alive now. That's the legacy in the making. And it starts with the little things. The decision to read instead of scroll. To build instead of binge. To create instead of consume. To lead instead of follow. To become instead of wait. Your legacy is being written in every choice you make. Every morning you rise. Every night you reflect. Every time you show up when it's hard. Every time you say no to distraction and yes to your future. That's wealth. That's power. That's the rise of the new rich. And the best part, you're not late. You're right on time. The door is open. The tools are ready. The knowledge is everywhere. The market is hungry. The world is waiting, not for perfection, not for genius, but for someone real, someone bold, someone willing to try, someone like you. So build your voice, build your brand, build your systems, build your skills, build your impact, build your future, build your legacy. It all starts here. At some point, success stops being about money. It stops being about numbers. It stops being about proving people wrong. That's the evolution, the quiet moment when the chase ends and the creation begins. That's where the new rich live. They don't just earn, they empower. They don't just grind, they guide. They don't just accumulate, they align. Because real wealth has nothing to do with what's in your bank. It has everything to do with what you're building when no one's watching. Legacy isn't built by accident. It's carved, layer by layer, choice by choice. It's what's left behind when the noise fades, when the trends pass, when the applause stops. It's the fingerprints you leave on people's lives. And the new rich, they think in legacy, not in weekends, not in distractions, not in clout. They think decades ahead. They build brands that echo, ideas that last, work that speaks long after they're gone. Because wealth without impact is empty. But impact, that's eternal. There comes a day when the laptop closes, the notifications stop, the screen goes dark, and you ask yourself, did I just make money, or did I make a difference? That's the question that haunts the imitators and fuels the creators. And the new rich, they build for that moment. They don't just build businesses, they build movements. They don't just chase relevance, they chase resonance. That's the edge, that's the shift, that's where hustle becomes harmony. When you reach a certain point on your path, you start to realize it's no longer about what you can get. It's about what you can give. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. And it doesn't happen when you're broke. It happens when you've fought through the storms, when you've paid your dues, when you've seen what shallow success looks like and refused to settle for it. The new rich don't just rise for themselves. They rise so others can rise with them. They teach. They mentor. They build platforms that lift voices. They turn their scars into roadmaps. They speak from the other side of struggle, not to show off, but to light the path. That's what separates the loud from the legendary. Legacy doesn't scream, it speaks. Quietly, powerfully, permanently. You don't build legacy by copying trends. You build it by standing in your truth, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. You build it by being the same person in silence that you are in the spotlight. You build it when you start living in alignment with values that can't be shaken. Because the world doesn't remember those who made the most noise. It remembers those who made the most difference. So what does it take to get there? Not perfection. Not a blueprint. Not a miracle. Just a decision. To matter. To mean something. To become the kind of person whose work speaks for them. Whose story inspires without exaggeration. Whose presence brings clarity, not confusion. That's the ultimate wealth. That's the kind of success that can't be measured in followers or dollars. It's measured in lives touched, in minds opened, in hearts awakened. The new rich understand that digital is only the doorway. It's not the destination. The content, the courses, the platforms, they're just vehicles. What matters is what they carry. Is it truth? Is it value? Is it healing? Is it hope? Are you selling something or serving someone? That's the difference between transactional and transformational. And legacy lives in the latter. It's not about how loud your launch is. It's about how long your work lasts. Are you building something that disappears when the algorithm shifts? Or are you building something that people return to year after year because it changed them? That's the standard. Not popularity, not perfection, but permanence, relevance that survives the noise. And the path to that, it's paved with real work, inner work. It's showing up when no one claps. It's choosing purpose when profit would be easier. It's learning when others rest. It's listening when others speak. It's elevating others even when you feel small. It's remembering that the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more depth. You build legacy by becoming someone worth remembering. Not because you were the best, the fastest, or the richest, but because you were real. You were kind. You were bold. You did the work that mattered. You gave more than you took. You left people better than you found them. That's what sticks. That's what spreads. That's what endures. So now the question becomes, what are you doing this for? What's it really about? If it's just the lifestyle, it won't last. If it's just to prove them wrong, you'll eventually run out of steam. But if it's to grow, to serve, to stretch your soul and help others stretch theirs, That's fuel that never runs dry. That's the kind of why that makes the how irrelevant. That's the kind of mission that pulls you through any obstacle. Because the truth is, there will be pain. There will be pressure. There will be days when you wonder if it's even worth it. But legacy doesn't ask if it's worth it. It reminds you that you're worth it, that your voice matters, that your work has weight, that your effort plants seeds in people you may never even meet. And that's the magic of building something real. You never know how far it will reach. You may never meet the person who needed your words on their darkest day. You may never see the ripple effect of your ideas in someone else's breakthrough. But it's there. It's always there. That's the power of showing up fully, consistently, authentically. The new rich don't wait to be discovered. They decide to be undeniable. They know that it's not about being the most talented. It's about being the most committed. Not the most perfect, but the most present. And with every step forward, they shed the need to impress and embrace the need to impact. Because that's where the real game is played. Not on timelines, not on feeds, but in the quiet decisions that build character, in the invisible sacrifices that build legacy. So ask yourself, what am I really leaving behind? What does my work say about me? What kind of human am I becoming in the process? That's the gold. That's the wealth no one can take. And that's where the new rich win. Not just in income, but in influence. Not just in reach, but in relevance. Not just in power, but in peace. Because when you build a life of purpose, you don't need to escape it. When you build a life around service, success follows you. When you build a life rooted in truth, trends don't shake you. And when you build a life of alignment, you don't just rise, you carry others with you. That's the legacy. Not just to build for yourself, but to build so big that it lifts others. To be the reason someone didn't quit. To be the spark that started someone's fire. To be the voice that reminded someone of their worth. That's the wealth that multiplies forever.